General Hospital, The Flames of War and the End of Illusions, July 14 to 18, 2025, ***, the week of July 14 to 18, 2025 in General Hospital begins not with peace, but with tension simmering just beneath the surface. What should have been a somber remembrance for Natalia Rivera turned instead into a battlefield of unresolved grievances, shadowy secrets, and looming threats. Port Charles is no longer merely a stage for broken hearts and whispered lies. It has become a war zone, both in the literal and emotional sense. With a church service descending into confrontation and alliances unraveling faster than they can be rebuilt, no one will walk away unscathed. #Natalia's memorial turns explosive. The memorial for Natalia Rivera was meant to be sacred. Held at a solemn chapel, with Marco overseeing the proceedings, the pews were filled with faces both grieving and guarded. Lucas, Sidwell, Christina, and Alexis were present, all cloaked in sorrow, yet not everyone mourned the same way. The church air was thick with unspoken tensions, particularly between Sidwell and Sonny Corinthos, whose recent face-off had left blood in the water. It was Alexis who dared to speak out, offering a carefully measured defense of Sonny in the wake of murmured accusations. Her words were not welcomed by all, least of all Sidwell, who seemed visibly shaken by her refusal to paint Sonny as a villain. For many, it raised the question, was Alexis defending truth, or simply clinging to her own version of it? But the church confrontation was only the beginning. Whispers outside the chapel hinted at more sinister dealings in the works. Sidwell's quiet vow of vengeance against Sonny foreshadowed the storm to come. One that would erupt in gang retaliation and upheaval, extending far beyond the pews of Natalia's funeral. #Sasha's crossroads, Nina's final goodbye? Elsewhere in Port Charles, Sasha Gilmore was on the verge of making a life-altering decision. The trauma she endured in recent months, paired with the unraveling of her relationship with the Corinthos family, had worn her thin. With baby Daisy in her arms and heartbreak anchoring her soul, Sasha sought out Nina Reeves. The meeting between Sasha and Nina was not publicized. It was quiet, private, possibly final. Nina, once a flawed but formidable maternal figure in Sasha's life, appeared shaken by the encounter. Whether they parted on good terms or simply severed their emotional bond for good, one thing was clear, Sasha was done looking backward. Meanwhile, Michael Corinthos, standing at the precipice of an uncertain future, found himself confronted with an impossible choice. Would he abandon Port Charles, leave Wiley and Amelia behind, and disappear into obscurity with Sasha and Daisy? Or would he remain entangled in the complex web of family expectations, legal warfare, and personal sacrifice? #Willow's descent, obsession and denial. Friday saw Willow Corinthos stepping into the spotlight once again, but not as a victim. With Michael's emotional distance and Sasha's closeness to Daisy, Willow's fragile grip on reality was showing dangerous cracks. Having previously been suspected of disturbing behavior, she shocked the community by making a plea of innocence that sounded more like a confession. Claiming she was not the one stalking Daisy, Willow's insistence rang hollow to those who knew her best. There was a wildness in her eyes, a desperation that seemed to grow with every passing second. The idea that she might be the anonymous threat lurking in Daisy's shadows, once considered far-fetched, now seemed chillingly plausible. Was her plea genuine, or simply a manipulative smokescreen hiding a darker truth? Dante's discovery, blood ties and broken trust. Detective Dante Falconeri had seen his fair share of chaos, but nothing could prepare him for what he uncovered at the end of the week. Still reeling from an emotionally charged confrontation with his ex-wife Lulu, Dante found himself pulled into a series of revelations that could change the course of several lives. What he discovered wasn't just a crime. It was a betrayal that cut close to home. Whether it involved Sonny, Lulu, or even his own son, Rocco, Dante's reaction hinted at something personal, something devastating. The kind of discovery that doesn't just shake a case, it shatters a family. Drew's calculated destruction. While the public remained fixated on Natalia's funeral and Willow's unraveling, Drew Kane was orchestrating his own brand of devastation. Having successfully driven a wedge between Curtis and Portia, and by extension sabotaged Trina's relationship with Kai, Drew was far from finished. The man once seen as principled and reliable had transformed into something colder, more ruthless, a political juggernaut with no regard for emotional collateral. His next target remained unclear, but the pattern was unmistakable: fracture families, sow mistrust, and rise amid the wreckage. As Congressman Cutthroat played chess with the lives of those around him, few recognized how close they were to becoming pawns. Christina's dilemma. Between loyalty and logic amid all this chaos, Christina found herself caught in the middle, torn between her loyalty to Sonny and her budding alliance with Sidwell. The memorial for Natalia had left her shaken, not only because of the family tensions, but because of what she overheard between Marco and Sidwell. A whispered conversation that hinted at a plot far larger than she'd anticipated. Whether she chooses to speak up or remain silent could determine the fate of not only Sonny Corinthos but also the fragile alliances holding the community together. Christina's silence could be interpreted as complicity. Her voice, however, could ignite a firestorm no one is ready to face. The brewing gang war. An inferno on the horizon by week's end, the tremors of civil unrest could no longer be contained. What began as a war of words inside a church transformed into a full-scale gang conflict by Friday night. Sidwell, having gathered his resources, was rumored to be ready to strike, not just to destroy Sonny, but to remove him from the equation entirely. Marco, whose loyalty was still unclear,
để khi anh nhận ra thì sự thân đã quá đau lòng. Vì ngày hôm qua anh đã nhìn thấy em ôm hôn một người, động đau sợ khi anh nhận ra sự thật sau quá trái ngang. Anh đã dần thở và gục ngã trước nỗi đau vô bờ, một cào xe tan nát trái tim anh. Giọt nước mắt cũng không thể xóa được hết những nỗi đau này. Chẳng lẽ em xem như tình yêu chỉ là trò chơi đắng cay? Sẽ có một ngày em nhận ra chẳng có ai yêu em thật lòng như ai.
And underneath it all, raw truths emerged. Natalia's death became a catalyst for revelation. Willow's unraveling became a symbol of guilt denied. Sasha's departure represented quiet strength, and Michael's uncertainty became a mirror for every broken family in the city. Yet the story is far from over, because in General Hospital, grief doesn't end at a grave. It bleeds into background tales of whispered threats and desperate acts. As the court trial prepares for what comes next, its residents must decide, will they rise to the ocean or be crushed by the fire?